Welcome to MiniOrange. In this video, we will see how to configure SSO for Atlassian Cloud, using any Auth OIDC provider. As we know, Atlassian Cloud supports SAML, which allows users to authenticate to Atlassian Cloud products through existing SAML identity provider. But what if users are present in OAuth or OpenID provider? Will SSO still work? Can we connect Atlassian Cloud SAML SSO modules to OAuth OIDC providers? Is it even possible? Yes. It's possible with MiniOrange Identity Brokering Service. Identity brokering is a way to establish trust between parties who wants to use online identities of one another. MiniOrange IDP supports cross-protocol brokering, which means in our case we can configure Atlassian Cloud which supports SAML protocol, with any identity providers that may support any other SSO protocols like OAuth OIDC, JWT, LDAP, etc. If SAML is supported by your identity provider, you can still use brokering to use the features of MiniOrange Identity Broker. Let's see few benefits of MiniOrange Identity Broker. Easily migrate your server SSO settings into cloud. You can configure multiple identity providers to authenticate different types of users with different IDPs. Multiple department-based login allows users to redirect to their IDP based on their department. Domain mapping allows users to redirect to their IDP based on their email domains. Custom attribute mapping is a provision to update the user profile attributes in the application with the user attributes received from the IDP. Secure your SSO with signed requests and encrypted SAML assertions. Username transformation extracts the required username from the received attribute using regular expression. Group mapping allows to map users' IDP groups to application groups. Integrate your application with multiple user stores, like AD, LDAP, external database, etc. to easily manage your users. Faster and better troubleshooting issues, support, and end-to-end setup assistance. You can share plugin configurations and logs via email or customer portal. As discussed earlier, we will be configuring SSO in Atlassian Cloud with the help of Atlassian Access, using any Auth OIDC provider, via MiniOrange Broker. The setup is divided into two parts. We will configure SAML SSO between Atlassian Cloud and MiniOrange in Part 1, and then configure Auth OpenID Connect SSO between MiniOrange and any Auth OIDC provider in Part 2. Finally, we will be concluding the setup by combining Part 1 and 2 to show the SSO between Atlassian Cloud and any Auth OIDC provider using MiniOrange Broker. Firstly, we will be configuring Atlassian Cloud SAML SSO with the help of Atlassian Access, using MiniOrange IDP. Log into Atlassian Access Admin Console. Navigate to the Security tab. Select SAML Single Sign-On. Click on the shown link to get the SAML configuration instructions for different identity providers. Here is the attributes for attribute mapping. You will find attributes for the user's first name, last name, and email ID. You can click here to view the setup guide for configuration. Click on Got It. Now click on Add SAML Configuration. To get these details, create a SAML application in the MiniOrange IDP. This is the setup guide document with step-by-step instructions for configuration. You will find the link of this document in the description below. Use the shown link to go to the MiniOrange login page. If you do not have MiniOrange account, then you can create one with the help of Create an Account link in the login page. Log into MiniOrange Admin Console. From the left panel, navigate to Apps. Click on Add Application. Go to SAML Card and create an app. Select Atlassian Cloud SAML app. Edit the custom application name as required. Enter the ESP entity ID and ACS URL as shown in the video. These are generic URLs which you will find in the description as well. You'll get the Atlassian Cloud's SP entity ID and ACS URL once the app is successfully created in the Atlassian Cloud. Make sure that Sign Response and Sign Assertion button is enabled. Click on Save. Your app is configured successfully. To get the metadata details of this application, navigate to metadata of the application as shown. Since we are using MiniOrange's identity broker, go to the information required to authenticate via external IDP section. Click on Show Metadata Details. Copy the IDP entity ID and paste it in the given field in SAML app configuration. Copy SAML login URL and paste it in the given field. Copy X509 certificate and paste it as shown. Click on Save Configuration. As the application is successfully created, you will find the actual SP entity ID and SPACS URL here. You can either copy-paste these URLs directly into the application, or just copy the unique ID from these URLs and go back to the MiniOrange IDP app section, edit your app, and append SP entity ID, audience URL, and ACS URL with the copied unique ID. Save the changes. Application configuration will be updated successfully. Go back to Atlassian Cloud Application and navigate to View Authentication Policies. To enable SSO for users, we need to add policy. Click on Add Policy and enter the policy name, and click on Add. Under Single Sign-On, enabling for Single Sign-On, this will enforce the assigned members to log into Atlassian products with your identity provider. Click on Update. Now go to Members and click on Add Members. Enter the username and click on Add Members. Now in the Members section, you can see that the member is added successfully. In the MiniOrange application, navigate to Users and select User List. We have already added the user here. You can add user by clicking on Add User button. You can either add the user by adding personal details, and then click on Create. Or else you can add the users in a bulk, by uploading CSV file. You can download the sample CSV file using this link. Let's check the connection between Atlassian Cloud and MiniOrange. Now, in the Atlassian Cloud login page, enter the user mail ID, and proceed. The user will be redirected to MiniOrange login page for a SAML authentication. Login with MiniOrange IDP credentials. You will be successfully logged into the Atlassian Cloud app, using MiniOrange credentials. Hence, test connection between Atlassian Cloud as SP, and MiniOrange as an IDP is successful. If you do not have any identity provider, then you can always go with MiniOrange, and your setup ends here. Let's configure OAuth OpenID SSO in MiniOrange's service provider, using any OAuth OIDC provider. Firstly, you will get the callback URL from MiniOrange IDP broker, which needs to be configured in identity provider. Callback URL is also called as redirect URL, which is used to tell the OAuth OIDC provider where to send the token after authentication. After configuring callback URL, IDP generates few endpoints, which you need to set up in MiniOrange. Here are those endpoints required to configure MiniOrange's OAuth client, client ID, client secret, scopes, domain, or host URL, or tenant ID, or directory ID, authorization endpoint, access token endpoint, user info endpoint, and group info endpoint. As discussed, you need to get these endpoints from your OAuth OIDC provider, and configure it in MiniOrange IDP broker. Go to Add Identity Provider in MiniOrange IDP. Navigate to OAuth 2.0, or OpenID tab, according to the SSO protocol that is supported by your IDP. Here, we will go to OAuth 2.0 tab. As discussed, you will find the callback URL here which you need to configure an OAuth OIDC provider. Now, select Custom Provider as app name. As discussed, you need to set this endpoints in the given highlighted fields. Here, we will be taking an example of AWS Cognito as our OAuth OIDC provider. So, let's configure MiniOrange in AWS Cognito OAuth OIDC provider. In the MiniOrange Identity Providers tab, OAuth 2.0 section, we have selected Custom Provider in the App Name drop-down. To view the setup guide document, you can click on this shown link, and get the step-by-step instructions for the configuration. Now, enter the app display name. As discussed earlier, you will get the callback URL from MiniOrange IDP, which you need to set in your OAuth or OIDC provider. So, copy the callback URL as shown. Go to your OAuth or OIDC provider application, and create an OAuth application. In AWS Cognito, we will be creating an application in the App Client Settings section. Paste the copied URL in the callback URL field. In the Allowed OAuth Flows, select Authorization Code Grant. In the Allowed OAuth Scopes, select Email to access the user email address, select OpenID to authenticate with your IDP, and Profile to access user's profile data. Click on Save Changes. Now, let's configure OAuth OIDC provider and MiniOrange's OAuth client. As mentioned earlier, you will get these details from your IDP to configure MiniOrange's OAuth client. To get client ID and secret, in AWS Cognito, go to App Clients and click on Show Details. Here, you will find client ID and client secret. Copy App Client ID and paste it in the given field in the MiniOrange Identity Broker. Copy App Client secret and paste it in the given field. Enter the scopes. Now, you will need Authorize Endpoint, Access Token Endpoint, and User Info Endpoint for further configuration. You will get these endpoints in the Setup Guide document. You will need your Cognito app domain name. You will find it in the AWS Cognito application, in the Domain Name tab on the left menu. Add your domain name in these details, and copy it. And paste it in the respective fields. Click on Save. IDP configurations have been saved. Select your IDP, and make it default. Let's test our SSO configuration between Atlassian Cloud and our OAuth OIDC provider using MiniOrange Identity Broker. You can see that the user is not mapped for SSO in Atlassian Access. Hence, while logging into Atlassian account, user won't be redirected to the IDP. Instead, the user will be asked for the account password. However, while configuring Atlassian Cloud with MiniOrange Identity Broker, we had added this member, using Add Members options. Now go to Atlassian Cloud login page, and enter the user's mail ID. User will be redirected to AWS Cognito login page for OAuth authentication. Log in with your credentials. You will be successfully logged into your Atlassian Cloud application dashboard, with your OAuth OIDC provider credentials, using MiniOrange as a broker between Atlassian Cloud and OAuth OIDC provider. You can check our other Atlassian apps. LDAP Connector provides user authentication from various external directories for Atlassian Access. OAuth OIDC app allows users to log in into Atlassian Cloud with OAuth and OpenID Connect. Use two-factor authentication for secure login to your Atlassian Cloud applications. PDF Exporter app gives the ability to export Jira issues in the standard business document file format like PDF and Word document. Create and share secure links for Jira issues and Confluence pages, allowing end users to access the issue and pages without login. We have covered the configuration of MiniOrange IDP as a broker between Atlassian Cloud and custom OAuth OIDC provider. To understand more about OAuth or SAML configurations for your Atlassian Cloud app, raise a ticket with us with a link in the description. MiniOrange provides best single sign-on solutions. Thanks for watching.